In the hidden corners of Gilded Age manors, dinner was not merely a meal, but a shadowed performance where every gesture carried silent command. Candles tremble over polished silver as servants move with precise timing, orchestrating a spectacle unseen, yet felt by all who dare to watch. Plates glide like actors across the table. Glasses are raised as if to a script, and every whispered instruction ensures that decorum reigns supreme. The grandeur of the hall conceals countless hours of unseen labor, a meticulous choreography designed to impress without revealing its human cost. As you watch, consider the invisible hands and quiet mastery that sustained this world of elegance. Subscribe now and join us as we uncover the secrets of a ritual where appearances held power, every motion mattered, and the true story of Gilded Age dinner service is revealed for the first time. The first impression is never accidental. One steps across the threshold of a Gilded Age dining hall and immediately senses the weight of expectation pressing from every gilded cornice, every polished pane of glass. The walls rise like silent sentinels, hung with portraits whose painted eyes follow the visitor as though to remind them that decorum is never optional. The floor, inlaid with intricate patterns of mahogany and oak, is a tapestry that guides movement as much as it adorns, marking the boundaries within which the dance of service must occur. Even before a chair is offered or a plate presented, the hall has made its intentions clear. This is a space where order is sacred and observation relentless. The chandelier overhead casts light in a way that feels deliberate, dividing the room into illuminated zones and shadowed recesses. One might think the flickering flames serve only to embellish crystal and silver, yet their subtle play reveals and conceals with careful purpose. Here, the position of a candle can betray the most minor misstep or draw attention to the perfect alignment of a table setting. Each lighted taper becomes a participant in an invisible performance, its flames choreographing the passage of every hand and gaze. Even the echo of a footfall is measured against this luminous rhythm, each step producing a note in the quiet symphony of anticipation. From the corners of the room, the faintest hint of motion registers almost subliminally. Servants, trained over countless hours, move with the precision of a clock, their motions nearly imperceptible, yet essential to the seamless presentation before the eyes of the assembled guests. There is no hurried scurry, no frantic adjustment, only the smooth glide of hands placing silver, adjusting glass, or straightening folds of linen with a fluidity that suggests both discipline and artistry. The observer, untrained, may perceive nothing but the polished surface, unaware of the hours of rehearsal and meticulous repetition that have shaped every gesture. Each motion is part of a silent dialogue, a language of posture, pressure, and timing, understood by those who dwell within this world, yet invisible to the casual visitor. Seating arrangements themselves speak volumes without a single word. Those of higher rank occupy positions of prominence, their chairs aligned with architectural emphasis, commanding sightlines to both peers and the servants who serve them. Guests of lesser note are placed so as to observe the hierarchy, their placement teaching them, subtly, where they belong in the delicate balance of social order. Even the act of rising, leaning, or glancing carries meaning. A misstep might disrupt the illusion of perfection and draw scrutiny. The hall, therefore, functions not only as a vessel for dining, but as a stage where the drama of respect, attention, and propriety unfolds. The air is tinged with the faint scent of polished wood, wax, and the lingering aroma of a kitchen at work, all mingling to heighten awareness and anticipation. One cannot escape the sense that every object, from the smallest fork to the grandest sideboard, has been positioned with intent. The hall does not merely receive, it instructs. It imposes discipline without a word, demanding patience, vigilance, and silent admiration. In this space, obedience is as much a duty as appreciation, and the true spectacle is rarely seen by the eyes that gather at the table. Here, in the commanding presence of walls, floors, and light, the Gilded Age announces itself. It is a world where appearances dictate authority, where every detail is a statement, and where the unseen choreography of service begins its quiet, exacting work. Those who enter find themselves not merely guests, but participants in an intricate performance, one whose rules are strict, invisible, and absolute. The first flicker of flame upon polished crystal seems almost alive, its light quivering with intent, as if it possesses knowledge of the room's hidden order. Chandeliers hang like suspended constellations, each crystal prism capturing and fracturing the glow into countless rays that brush the walls, the silver, and the faces of those gathered below. In the Gilded Age dining hall, illumination is never mere convenience. It is a subtle arbiter of attention, casting judgment as much as it reveals beauty. Guests notice the brilliance upon the polished table, yet the shadows that gather in corners hold secrets, silent whispers of motion that are part of the carefully maintained illusion of effortless grace. Servants navigate the space as if guided by invisible strings, their motions measured to perfection by the interplay of light and shadow. The brighter zones mark the stage for presentation, where hands lift crystal goblets or glide silver spoons across pristine plates. The dimmer recesses conceal movement not meant for observation, where gentle adjustments are made, ruffled linens smoothed, and polished surfaces inspected for flaw. Each servant learns to understand the significance of light, how a single gesture cast into illumination might betray intention, while a careful movement in shadow can correct the smallest error unnoticed. The choreography of service is a ballet orchestrated by candles and gas lamps alike, every flicker dictating timing and presence. The shadows themselves seem to possess an agency of their own. They stretch along the walls and floors, elongating the figures of those who linger in prominence, compressing the presence of those less noticed. Guests unconsciously respond to these subtle shifts, aligning themselves with the patterns of light, whether to appear more attentive, deferential, or composed. The hall teaches lessons in perception. Those who move with confidence under the gleam of chandeliers convey authority, while hesitation is made evident by the way shadow gathers around unpracticed hands. In this way, the very architecture of light becomes an unspoken instructor, guiding behavior, demanding attention, and asserting hierarchy without uttering a word. Even the arrangement of candles upon the table carries significance. Their placement defines space, creates visual rhythm, and signals the arrival of courses. A solitary taper at the head of the table commands the gaze and reinforces rank, while clusters along the sideboards illuminate the instruments of service. The movement of a hand to adjust a flame, to tilt a candle slightly, or to extinguish one with care is deliberate, rehearsed, and conducted with an understanding of how light will play upon polished surfaces and attentive eyes. Every adjustment, no matter how slight, contributes to the seamless illusion of elegance that must never falter. The atmosphere is charged with quiet tension, a controlled anticipation heightened by the delicate shadows that cling to doorways, corners, and recesses where no guest may intrude. The scent of burning tallow mingles with polished wood, the faint tang of citrus used in cleaning, and the aroma of carefully prepared dishes still to be served. These elements conspire with the light to envelop the room, drawing attention to what is meant to be seen and concealing the labor that produces it. The unseen choreography unfolds within this luminous framework, each servant, each gesture, and each glance calibrated to harmonize with the rhythm of illumination and concealment. It is in this delicate balance of light and dark, shadow and brilliance, that the true mastery of Gilded Age dinner service reveals itself. Guests may admire the glow upon crystal and silver, yet they remain oblivious to the countless motions hidden just beyond their sight. The The hall commands obedience through illumination, training both the eye and the mind to perceive and to perform within its precise boundaries. Every flicker is an instructor, every shadow a sentinel, and every corner a secret witness to the artistry that sustains the grandeur of the evening. In the careful governance of light, the Gilded Age asserts its authority, rendering invisible labor visible only in effect, ensuring that elegance endures without revealing its cost. Upon entering a Gilded Age dining hall, the eye is immediately drawn to the brilliant glimmer of silver. Forks, spoons, and knives lie arranged with exacting precision, their polished surfaces catching light and reflecting it across the table in countless sharp, sparkling arcs. This is no mere display of wealth. Each piece carries with it intention, history, and the weight of expectation. The gleam of silver proclaims both the prosperity of the household and the meticulous control that maintains order within it. Guests may admire its beauty, yet the true meaning is whispered only to those who know how to read its subtle cues. Each item is positioned to guide hands and to communicate status. The placement of a fork slightly nearer the guest of honor, the precise angle of a spoon at the side, even the orientation of a knife along the plate's edge, are all deliberate, designed to direct behavior without spoken word. Silver functions as an intermediary between master and guest, instructing the unobservant and reinforcing the hierarchy in plain sight. A misplaced piece can betray unfamiliarity, drawing quiet attention and testing one's comprehension of etiquette. The hall, its lights, and the careful arrangement of objects together form a silent language that must be understood to navigate the evening gracefully. The surfaces themselves are mirrors of discipline. They shine not only from polish, but from constant vigilance, demanding attentiveness from every servant whose duty it is to maintain perfection. Fingers brush, cloths smooth, and every utensil is aligned with the precision of a practiced hand. A single smudge or tarnish, though invisible to the casual eye, would disturb the balance of the evening, hinting at disorder or neglect. In this world, the cost of imperfection is subtle yet profound, for appearances are the only measure by which respect and esteem are awarded. The silver speaks to the observer, revealing adherence to ritual or lack thereof, conveying both approval and reproach without uttering a syllable. Beyond its function in dining, silver serves as a marker of time and sequence. Platters slide along the table at the precise moment. Trays are lifted and lowered in unison, and covered dishes are presented and removed according to an invisible clock, whose rhythm is known only to the servants. The reflective surfaces amplify movement, drawing the eye to key moments and directing attention in a choreography that is at once delicate and exacting. Guests respond unconsciously, guided by glimmering cues to lift, lean, or reach in synchrony with the silent orchestra of service. Even the clink of a spoon against porcelain is measured, part of the greater symphony where sound, light, and motion converge in perfect harmony. The artistry extends to every engraved pattern, every decorative flourish on napkin rings and salt cellars. These details, seemingly ornamental, convey lineage, taste, and refinement. A crest, embossed upon a fork, a delicate etching along the edge of a dish, signals not merely wealth, but propriety, knowledge, and the understanding of a household's expectations. Guests learn to read these subtleties, adjusting their comportment to meet the unspoken standards communicated by the objects themselves. The silver becomes a teacher, a guide, and a mirror, reflecting the observer's skill at interpretation and subtlety. In this interplay of light, labor, and reflection, the hall and its silver achieve a quiet majesty. Guests perceive brilliance, elegance, and wealth, yet they remain unaware of the exacting precision and invisible effort that sustain the display. Each plate, each utensil, and each polished surface embodies the unspoken discipline of service, a testament to an age in which appearances were inseparable from authority. and perfection was a language spoken without words. The silver, in its glimmer and arrangement, speaks volumes to those who watch closely, revealing the invisible choreography of a society obsessed with grace, order, and the mastery of ritual. A Gilded Age dining table is never a mere surface upon which sustenance is placed. It is a carefully constructed stage, a terrain upon which social order is enacted and observed. The polished expanse stretches across the room, commanding attention not only by its size, but by its design, which dictates both movement and hierarchy. Carved legs and intricate inlays assert dominance as much as they embellish, and the polished surface reflects light in a way that magnifies the presence of those seated, subtly reinforcing their prominence or diminishment. One sits at such a table and immediately perceives that every inch has been considered, every position imbued with meaning. Seating arrangements are perhaps the most immediate indicator of social architecture. The head of the table, positioned to receive the fullest measure of light, attention, and visual command, is reserved for the host or guest of greatest distinction. Proximity to this point conveys favor, influence, and trust, while distance signals deference or minor importance. Even the placement of chairs relative to each other communicates subtle alliances and hierarchies, a silent conversation more exacting than any spoken word. Guests are aware, if only subconsciously, of the power that is communicated not by conversation, but by the very geography of the room. The table itself exerts influence over movement and behavior. Each place setting is arranged with exacting care, directing hand, arm, and body into positions deemed proper and elegant. Silverware, napkins, and glassware are aligned not only for aesthetic effect, but to instruct and constrain. Guests learn, often without conscious thought, to maneuver within this imposed order. The edges of the table, the spacing between chairs, and the placement of serving vessels all contribute to a choreography that balances utility with the performance of civility. To violate this careful spacing is to invite silent rebuke, a disruption that can ripple across the polished surface like a subtle tremor of disapproval. Beyond mere seating, the table functions as a mirror of authority and influence. Those who command attention find that their gestures and glances are amplified across the reflective surfaces of polished silver and crystal. Every movement of the hand, every tilt of a glass, every lift of a fork is observed, interpreted, and recorded by both servants and peers. The table magnifies not only the physical, but the social, transforming ordinary acts into statements of power, taste, and propriety. Even the arrangement of serving dishes contributes to this terrain of power. Platters glide along the table with a silent precision that suggests both ritual and strategy. The order in which courses are presented, the direction from which a tray is extended, and the manner in which a dish is offered all reinforce the invisible hierarchy. Guests and servants alike participate in a complex system of observation and response, where timing, placement, and movement converge to create an atmosphere in which decorum is both demanded and demonstrated. The physicality of the table is inseparable from its social function. Its polished surface conceals the exertion, rehearsal, and attention to detail that sustain the illusion of effortless elegance. Every line, angle, and reflective gleam has been curated to guide, influence, and command, making the table both a tool and an arbiter of power. In this space, the dining experience transcends nourishment. It becomes an arena in which social mastery is enacted with subtlety and precision, where the careful negotiation of space, light, and position reveals the true choreography of authority and decorum in the Gilded Age. The hall is never silent, yet its sounds are deliberate, measured, and almost imperceptible. Each footfall echoes against polished wood and inlaid stone with a muted authority, signaling presence while preserving the illusion of effortless grace. The Gilded Age dining room relies upon this subtle rhythm, for the movement of those who serve is as crucial as the meal itself. A misplaced step, a stumble upon the floorboards, or the slight squeak of a shoe can betray the labor concealed beneath the ornate tablecloths, and such errors carry consequences beyond mere embarrassment. The unseen performers of the evening must move with precision, their discipline honed until the hall itself seems to breathe in synchrony with their motions. Every servant is trained to inhabit the room without disturbing it, to glide through light and shadow with a grace that suggests absence while fulfilling presence. The placement of feet, the angle of a knee, and the careful extension of a hand are all rehearsed to the point of instinct. Timing is paramount. One must anticipate the needs of guests and the flow of service without verbal instruction, guided only by the cues of light, the placement of objects, and the subtle gestures of colleagues. Even the most attentive guest seldom perceives the meticulous care that underpins each pour, lift, or adjustment. The choreography of these footsteps is the backbone of the hall's illusion. The unseen measure that ensures the elegance of the evening remains uninterrupted. The floor itself becomes a partner in this intricate ballet. Polished to reflect both light and movement, it communicates without words, amplifying the slightest shift and providing a silent guide for those who move across it. Servants learn to sense its response beneath their shoes, to adjust stride and weight, to maintain harmony with the rhythm of the room. The echo of a measured step against a marble threshold can signal the arrival of a course, while the gentle scrape of a foot along patterned wood marks the discreet adjustment of a chair or table. In this way, the architecture itself enforces obedience, shaping motion as effectively as any instruction manual or mentor ever could. The proximity of one servant to another is governed as much by light and reflection as by explicit command. Those nearer to the glow of chandeliers and candles bear a heavier burden of visibility, their movements scrutinized by both the observing eyes of guests and the trained awareness of colleagues. Those who navigate the shadows perform equally vital work, smoothing linens, adjusting silver, or preparing trays with a precision that remains invisible. Together, they form a lattice of coordinated effort, each footfall and gesture a carefully placed note in the silent symphony of service. Even the most subtle of movements conveys meaning within the hierarchy. A pause, a hesitant step, or a slight adjustment of posture can betray inexperience or unfamiliarity with the ritual. The guests, absorbed in conversation or the visual splendor of polished silver and crystal, rarely perceive the exacting discipline at play. Yet the hall knows, the walls and floors themselves recording the fidelity of each motion, marking the competent and noting the errant. The dance of the unseen ensures that the performance of the evening remains unbroken, a flawless display of refinement that obscures the human effort beneath. In this room, the smallest sound is amplified, yet harmonized. The hall depends upon it, the guests take it for granted, and the servants live within it, trained to perfection. Each step across the floor is a word in a silent language, each pause a punctuation in a sentence of grace, and every motion a testament to the unceasing discipline that upholds the splendor of Gilded Age formal dining. To witness this is to understand that the true spectacle lies not in the wealth or the delicacies presented, but in the invisible footsteps that give life to elegance itself. The first entrance into a Gilded Age dining hall is never casual. Guests are ushered through corridors lined with paintings, the walls and ceilings echoing the distant footsteps that have rehearsed this moment countless times before. The approach itself is part of the ritual, a measured procession that establishes anticipation and imposes awareness of rank and propriety. Each step is guided, each glance rehearsed, as though the hall itself were shaping the manners and comportment of those who enter. The very act of arrival carries meaning, a silent announcement of social position, confidence, or familiarity with the expectations of the household. As the doorway opens, the ambient light seems to bend in welcome or to test composure. Guests are caught in the interplay of shadows and illumination, the candles and chandeliers accentuating certain figures while softening others. The servants, positioned with intent along the periphery, anticipate the moment, adjusting posture and expression in perfect synchronization. Even before a word is spoken, the rhythm of arrival establishes order. The weight of the house presses upon the visitor, instructing them through spatial cues, light, and expectation rather than speech. To misstep, to hesitate, or to appear unaware is to announce oneself as unpracticed, to draw attention in a world where scrutiny is constant. The opening of doors is itself choreographed. There is a timing to the pause, a deliberate hesitation as each guest steps into the hall, a moment during which posture and poise are measured. Heads are raised, shoulders squared, hands are adjusted to rest gracefully or to indicate deference. Servants observe, noting the alignment of coats, the sweep of skirts, the steadying of hats or gloves. Even the faintest shuffle of feet is accounted for, as the hall interprets each motion, registering confidence or uncertainty with quiet judgment. The sequence is unbroken, rehearsed, and precise, ensuring that the appearance of ease belies the careful orchestration behind it. The guests themselves, often unaware of the meticulous planning, internalize the rules through this exposure. They follow the unspoken cues, matching their pace and gaze to the rhythm established by the hall and its attendants. Seating is dictated by proximity to the host, social rank, and the subtle messages conveyed by placement. The sequence of arrival determines conversation, visibility, and interaction, all within a framework that teaches compliance without explicit instruction. Each guest becomes an actor in a performance directed by architecture, light, and the practiced eyes of the unseen. The hall breathes with this rhythm. The polished floors, the glint of silver, and the gentle shimmer of crystal all serve to coordinate movement, guiding both servants and guests in a silent ballet of observation and response. Plates await their moment. Glasses catch the light at the precise instant, and the positioning of chairs and sideboards channels motion as surely as any conductor's baton. Every step, every tilt of the head, and every whispered exchange is part of the carefully maintained cadence that sustains the illusion of effortless elegance. It is in these first moments, as the door closes and the candles flicker in acknowledgement, that the invisible structure of service asserts itself fully. Arrival is not merely a beginning, but a test, a rehearsal, and an initiation into the unseen hierarchy that governs the evening. The guests, though seated and ready to partake, remain participants in a choreography whose mastery is invisible yet unmistakable. The house, the hall, and the servants orchestrate each action with precision, and it is through this measured rhythm that the Gilded Age dining experience achieves its quiet majesty, revealing an elegance that is maintained not through opulence alone, but through the disciplined interplay of sight, sound, and movement that defines every entrance, every gesture, and every fleeting glance. In the Gilded Age, a menu is far more than a mere listing of courses. It is a carefully composed document that communicates expectation, refinement, and the invisible hand of authority. Printed upon heavy card or delicate parchment, often adorned with gilded lettering or an embossed crest, the menu serves as both guide and declaration. Its presence at each place setting signals the intentions of the host, the order of the evening, and the hierarchy of taste that governs the table. Guests, whether aware or not, read not only the names of the dishes, but the subtle messages embedded within the structure, learning through this silent code what conduct and attention are required of them. Each course is sequenced with deliberate consideration. Soups precede roasts, roasts give way to subtler entrees, and desserts arrive only after a careful cadence has been maintained. The sequence dictates pace, appetite and engagement, ensuring that the evening unfolds in a manner both elegant and exacting. Even the choice of words conveys authority. Consommé rather than broth, terrine rather than pâté, each term selected to reflect sophistication, discernment, and the pedigree of both the household and its culinary staff. Guests adjust posture and expression in response to these cues, acknowledging, through silent observation, their understanding of refinement and their awareness of the subtle hierarchy at play. Menus themselves often contain more than mere instructions for the consumption of food. They indicate the season, the provenance of ingredients, or the artistry of the chef, all of which serve to remind guests of the wealth, taste, and preparation required to sustain the household's reputation. The careful pairing of wine with courses is annotated with precision, guiding the movements of both servants and guests, and ensuring that attention, manners, and appreciation align seamlessly. In these small details, the menu functions as a missive, a letter from the host, to each guest that instructs, informs, and subtly tests comprehension of unspoken codes. The handling of the menu is itself a ritual. Guests lift it with poised hands, study it with measured attention, and replace it upon the table with a deliberate motion that acknowledges the authority it represents. To skim hastily, to mishandle, or to appear indifferent is to breach etiquette and draw quiet notice. Conversely, careful attention signals understanding, respect, and conformity to the unspoken rules of the hall. The menu, though silent, is a participant in the evening, orchestrating actions as surely as any servant or chandelier, guiding eyes, hands, and attention with precision. Behind the menu's printed words lies the labor of unseen hands. Chefs have prepared each course with exacting care, adjusting flavors, presentation, and timing to align with the structure dictated upon paper. Servants have rehearsed the sequence of delivery, ensuring that dishes arrive in harmony with the reading of the menu, maintaining rhythm, decorum, and appearance. The menu thus bridges the efforts of kitchen, service, and guest, serving as both instruction and contract, binding all participants to a shared performance. In its quiet authority, the menu exemplifies the Gilded Age's devotion to the unseen choreography that sustains elegance. It communicates more than nourishment. It conveys social expectation, hierarchy, and the intricate discipline required to maintain perfection. Guests may regard it as a simple guide to the evening's meal, yet in reality, it is a subtle arbiter, a messenger of etiquette, and a vessel for the invisible labor that renders each gathering a flawless display of refinement. Through its words and sequence, the menu instructs without speech, reminds without insistence, and ensures that every participant, knowingly or not, plays their part in the intricate theater of formal dinner service. The arrangement of linen and the smallest gestures of acknowledgement carry a weight in the Gilded Age dining hall that is scarcely visible, yet profoundly felt. Napery, folded with geometric exactitude, lies at each place, setting like a silent tutor, instructing the guest in manners and guiding the hand to the proper place at the appointed moment. Every crease, every fold, every angle has been considered to communicate restraint, refinement, and attention to detail. The slightest imperfection in alignment or a misplaced fold is noticed by the trained eye, a subtle signal that order has faltered and that vigilance is required to restore it. Napkins are rarely passive. The gentle sweep of a linen across the lap, the poised placement beside a plate, and the careful adjustment during service are all movements rehearsed until instinctive. Each gesture conveys respect for both the host and the assembly, a silent acknowledgement of the shared understanding that dining is more than the act of eating. Guests who falter in these small motions risk revealing ignorance of the unspoken code, whereas those who execute each motion with care demonstrate comprehension, grace, and social awareness. Napery becomes a partner in the choreography of the evening, a quiet instrument in the performance that defines the hall. Nods, similarly, serve as subtle instruments of communication. A slight inclination of the head toward a host, a brief acknowledgement of a passing servant, or the measured recognition of a fellow guest carries significance without the need for speech. Each nod, though understated, contributes to the rhythm of the evening, signaling attentiveness, deference, or alliance. In the carefully maintained hierarchy of a Gilded Age table, even these smallest gestures are subject to scrutiny, ensuring that every participant performs in concert with the expectations imposed by architecture, light, and arrangement. The combination of napery and nods creates a silent dialogue between all present. Linen instructs the hand, while gestures instruct the eye. The two work in harmony to guide behavior, impose subtle correction, and reinforce social boundaries. The hall itself seems to respond to these movements, as the reflection of light upon polished silver and crystal amplifies each motion, while the shadows in corners quietly observe and register adherence to the ritual. It is a network of signals and responses so delicate that the uninitiated may perceive only grace and elegance, unaware of the strict discipline and observation that maintain the appearance. Servants, too, are attuned to these cues. They adjust their approach in response to the movement of napkins, the inclination of heads, and the placement of hands. A properly folded napkin indicates readiness for the next course. A subtle nod signals approval or instruction to the unseen attendants. The flow of service is thus dictated as much by these minute motions as by explicit command, creating an interdependence between the visible and invisible, the acknowledged and the hidden. The hall is alive with this interplay of fabric and gesture, light and shadow. Napery and nods, small as they may seem, maintain rhythm and authority. They instruct without speech, correct without disturbance, and communicate the complex etiquette that governs the Gilded Age table. Guests, whether they recognize it or not, participate in a performance in which these subtle elements form the backbone, ensuring that the elegance observed is the product not only of wealth and design, but of meticulous choreography and unbroken attention to the unspoken codes that define propriety and refinement. In the Gilded Age dining hall, every second carries meaning, and the passage of time is measured not by the ticking of a clock, but by the cadence of service. Courses appear with a precision that is nearly imperceptible, yet any deviation from the expected rhythm is immediately noticed. Guests may perceive the arrival of a platter or the placement of a glass as spontaneous or elegant, but beneath that appearance lies the careful orchestration of hands, gestures, and anticipation. Timing is obedience made visible, and to misalign with it is to disrupt the delicate balance of authority, observation, and decorum that governs the evening. The servants are trained to understand the hall's rhythm instinctively. They move not only with attention to the sequence of dishes, but with sensitivity to the subtle cues of light, reflection, and gesture that signal readiness. A tray is not lifted until the eyes of the head steward confirm the proper moment. A glass is not poured until the host has gestured or nodded, and a dish is never presented too soon, for premature action draws scrutiny and suggests inexperience. The invisible clock of service dictates each movement, teaching patience, attention, and the constant awareness that the performance of obedience is as important as the task itself. Guests, though often unaware, internalize this rhythm as they navigate the evening. The spacing between courses shapes conversation, posture, and attention, subtly instructing when to speak, when to lift a utensil, and when to remain still. Each pause, whether brief or extended, reinforces the hierarchy of the table, emphasizing the primacy of those whose authority presides over the meal. To hurry, to linger excessively, or to interrupt the carefully maintained sequence is to draw notice and to risk a breach of decorum. In this way, timing becomes a shared language, a contract between servants and guests that communicates expectation without words. Even the pacing of gestures is governed by the invisible measure of time. The raising of a spoon, the tilt of a wine glass, or the brief adjustment of a chair occurs not in isolation, but in coordination with the broader rhythm of the hall. A single misstep can disrupt harmony, revealing either ignorance or disregard for the subtle rules that sustain the illusion of effortless elegance. The polished surfaces of silver and glass amplify movement, reflecting light in a way that highlights precision or exposes error. Shadows, too, bear witness, stretching and retreating in accordance with each motion, silently reinforcing the authority of the choreography. The importance of timing extends to the preparation and removal of dishes. Kitchens operate with strict adherence to the prescribed order, ensuring that each course arrives at the precise moment to maintain temperature, flavor, and presentation. Trays glide along the polished floors, synchronized with the cues of the dining hall, while servants anticipate the next step, ever vigilant for signs of readiness or hesitation. The invisible dialogue between kitchen, service, and table is conducted through rhythm alone, an exacting ballet that balances discretion, efficiency, and artistry. Ultimately, the passage of time within the dining hall is a test of obedience. Each second carries expectation, each movement is measured, and every participant, from the highest-ranking guest to the most junior servant, is bound by the cadence that sustains the evening. Timing governs attention, reinforces hierarchy, and ensures the seamless performance of the ritual. In this disciplined flow, the elegance of the Gilded Age dining experience is made manifest, a testament to the quiet mastery that underlies every gesture, every glance, and every carefully measured pause. In the Gilded Age dining hall, observation is as vital as the arrangement of silver or the placement of a chair. The eyes of the host, of the most attentive guests, and of the unseen stewards move continuously, noting posture, gestures, and subtle deviations from decorum. Each glance carries meaning, assessing comprehension, refinement, and the capacity to navigate the invisible hierarchies that govern the evening. Guests may believe themselves unnoticed as they raise a glass, lift a fork, or lean toward conversation. Yet the hall itself seems to record each motion, translating it into the language of expectation and silent judgment. The scrutiny begins before a single course arrives. The host's eyes sweep across the room, observing alignment of chairs, the comportment of the assembled, and the posture of each servant. Every tilt of the head, every folded hand, and every hesitation is catalogued, revealing both confidence and ignorance, ease and discomfort. Guests learn quickly that appearance is inseparable from conduct. Even the smallest lapse, a crooked napkin, a misaligned glass, a faintly uneven posture, becomes visible under the quiet measure of observation, demonstrating that refinement is a performance sustained by awareness and restraint. Servants, too, exist under this constant gaze. Their motions are monitored not only by the head steward, but by peers who have internalized the standards of discipline and propriety. Each gesture is executed with deliberation, with anticipation of the host's attention, and with awareness that error will be noticed even if it is not immediately remarked upon. The act of serving, pouring, or arranging becomes a dialogue of sight and response, an exchange conducted without words in which subtle corrections are made in real time, maintaining the illusion of effortless perfection. The architecture and lighting of the hall reinforce this system of observation. Chandeliers scatter light across polished surfaces, illuminating gestures while shadows conceal the preparation behind them. Mirrors and reflective silver amplify movement, allowing a single glance to carry across a table and register the actions of those seated on the opposite side. Even the placement of decorative objects guides attention, subtly framing guests, utensils, and courses in ways that encourage both participation and compliance. The hall itself becomes a participant in the ritual, recording and amplifying the silent measurements of every observer. Attention is not passive. It shapes behavior. Guests adjust posture, tone, and movement in response to the imperceptible pressure of observation. A nod, a smile, or the smallest inclination of the head may acknowledge recognition of hierarchy or understanding of the unspoken codes. Likewise, hesitation, diverted gaze, or awkward motion signals incomprehension or disregard. Minds that measure record these signals, internalizing both the performance expected and the performance demonstrated. In this way, observation becomes education, teaching each participant the subtle lessons of hierarchy, etiquette, and grace that define Gilded Age dining. By the end of the evening, it is evident that the true power of the table resides not solely in wealth or display, but in the unrelenting scrutiny that governs each moment. Eyes that measure and minds that record transform gestures into lessons, reflections into commands, and presence into obedience. The Gilded Age dining hall achieves its elegance not by the spectacle of food or decoration alone, but by the disciplined vigilance of all who inhabit it, ensuring that every movement, glance, and gesture aligns with the invisible choreography that sustains the appearance of effortless grace. Here, observation is authority, and authority is performance, leaving each participant, both student and actor, in a ritual that is as exacting as it is invisible. The Gilded Age dining hall teaches more than posture or protocol. It instructs in the language of silence. Servants are schooled to move, anticipate, and act without uttering a sound. Their mastery of quiet, a requirement as strict as the arrangement of silver or the alignment of chairs. The slightest whisper, the inadvertent shuffle of a foot, or the faintest scrape of a tray could shatter the illusion of effortless grace carefully cultivated for the eyes of the guests. From the moment they enter the hall, novices are trained to understand that silence is not emptiness, but a vessel of control, a medium through which authority, order, and subtle communication flow. Silence conveys instruction as effectively as speech. A pause at the edge of a table, a measured tilt of the head, or a patient hand awaiting command is understood by those who have learned its language. Every motion is calibrated to anticipate the next need without prompting. The servants learn to read the room, observing the placement of guests, the gestures of hosts, and the timing of courses, adjusting their movements in response to these subtle cues. Each step and each gesture becomes part of a disciplined conversation conducted in absence of sound, a conversation that communicates readiness, caution, and comprehension. The head steward functions as both guide and sentinel, monitoring performance and imparting instruction through silence and subtle signal. A slight nod or turn of the wrist directs an assistant. A raised eyebrow suggests attention. A careful pause communicates caution. The untrained observer would perceive only fluid service, yet beneath that grace lies constant correction and adjustment, a silent dialogue between those who act and those who supervise. Mastery is achieved when these lessons are internalized, when every action aligns with expectation without the need for spoken command, creating an invisible lattice of control that supports the evening's presentation, even within the shadows. This discipline is exacting. Those who move along the edges of the hall must navigate both space and perception, balancing invisibility with readiness. Their work is unseen yet essential, smoothing linens, polishing silver, and adjusting glassware at precise intervals. The silence of their labor is a testament to skill, for any sound, however faint, risks drawing attention and disrupting the choreography of service. In these moments, quiet becomes a form of obedience, a mark of comprehension, and a measure of professionalism. Guests, unaware of the careful training unfolding around them, experience only the elegance of motion. They lift forks and glasses, tilt chairs, and raise napkins without recognizing that each gesture is guided by unseen hands moving with disciplined restraint. The performance depends upon both the subtle mastery of the servants and the compliance of those who partake. A delicate balance of visibility and invisibility maintained through measured silence. The hall itself reinforces this, amplifying movement where necessary and masking it where discretion is required. Through the lessons in silence, the servants come to understand that true authority is expressed without sound, and that elegance is preserved through restraint. Each gesture, each pause, and each deliberate motion is a communication in itself, a means of sustaining order, beauty, and hierarchy. In the Gilded Age dining hall, silence is not absence, but mastery. It is the invisible current that maintains the harmony of service, the vessel through which grace is enacted, and the quiet instrument by which the evening's meticulous performance is preserved. In these hushed exchanges, the unseen choreography finds its voice, commanding attention, guiding action, and shaping the experience of every participant without a single word spoken. In the quiet expanse of a Gilded Age dining hall, the hands of servants speak more eloquently than words ever could. Each motion is the product of rigorous training, repetition, and the internalization of expectation. From the moment a tray is lifted to the instant a glass is set upon the table, hands follow a choreography dictated by ritual, precision, and the invisible authority of the hall. Movement is deliberate, each finger, wrist, and arm aligned to maintain harmony and elegance, conveying readiness, attentiveness, and silent obedience. In this world, hands are instruments of discipline, capable of commanding attention and respect through the mere execution of their tasks. The preparation of the hands begins long before service commences. They are trained to move without hesitation, to hold objects without tremor, and to adjust their trajectory according to the unseen cues of light, shadow, and gesture. Silverware is lifted with care, plates balanced with exactitude, and glasses held at angles that preserve dignity while maintaining readiness. Even the smallest deviation, a tilt too steep or a wrist too rigid, betrays inexperience or lack of attention. The mastery of these motions is tested constantly, for the hands of a servant are not only functional, but expressive, articulating authority, propriety, and devotion to craft. Every action performed by the hands is contextual, informed by the position of the guest, the arrangement of the table, and the progression of the courses. A napkin is extended with a subtle flourish, a spoon adjusted with precision, a tray passed along the proper side at the appointed moment. The gestures are nearly imperceptible to the untrained eye, yet they carry profound significance, preserving the illusion of effortless service and upholding the standards of the household. Hands communicate silently with one another as well, coordinating movement, signaling readiness, and correcting minor misalignments without disturbing the seamless presentation of the evening. The ritual extends to every surface and object within reach. Polished silver, crystal, and china respond to careful handling, each object becoming both a tool and a reflection of skill. Hands glide across these surfaces with reverence, balancing the weight of service against the need for discretion. A misplaced finger, a sudden adjustment, or the faintest slip could mar the harmony of the table, drawing subtle notice from the guests or the head steward. In this environment, control of the hands is synonymous with mastery of the ritual, and through that mastery, the integrity of the evening is preserved. Guests, captivated by the elegance and apparent ease of the evening, rarely perceive the labor behind each gesture. Their plates are replenished, glasses poured, and utensils aligned as if by magic. Yet each movement is the result of training, vigilance, and a deep understanding of hierarchy and propriety. The hands of the servants embody discipline, translating silent instruction into visible action. The choreography of service is performed through touch, angle, and motion, a language that is understood and executed with precision, but remains invisible to all who do not share the knowledge. It is through these guided hands that the Gilded Age dining experience attains its refinement. Every pour, adjustment, and placement is an assertion of control, a demonstration of skill, and a reinforcement of order. The ritual of movement transforms ordinary labor into artistry, crafting an environment in which elegance is maintained not only through wealth or decoration, but through the disciplined mastery of gesture. Hands guided by ritual become the unseen architects of grace, sustaining the perfection of service, shaping the experience of the table, and ensuring that the evening unfolds as a silent, unbroken symphony of refinement, obedience, and authority. Beneath the glittering chandeliers and polished silver, a complex structure governs the rhythm of the dining hall. The guests, absorbed in conversation and the elegance of the meal, are often unaware of the intricate hierarchy that operates just beyond their notice. Each servant occupies a precise position within the system, from the head steward, who commands the sequence of service, to the junior aides whose motions must be flawless yet invisible. Authority flows downward through an unspoken chain, reinforced by years of training, ritual, and observation, ensuring that every gesture aligns with the expectations of the household and the strictures of etiquette. The head steward functions as both conductor and sentinel. Every movement of the staff is anticipated, every adjustment preempted, and every error corrected before it reaches the eyes of the guests. This figure surveys the hall with practiced precision, noting posture, pace, and alignment, and silently transmitting instruction through gesture, posture, or subtle shift of position. Hands are directed with a tilt of the wrist, a lift of the chin, or a careful nod, each motion communicating expectation without interruption. The mastery of this hierarchy is revealed not in overt display, but in the seamless flow of service, a perfection that conceals the countless adjustments, corrections, and rehearsals that sustain it. Junior staff members are trained to anticipate both the needs of the guests and the guidance of their superiors. They must read the room with keen awareness, adjusting each step and gesture in response to subtle cues. A misaligned tray, a hesitation in pouring, or a slight misplacement of silverware would signal inexperience or inattentiveness. These servants learn to act with precision, balancing presence and discretion, contributing to the silent orchestra that unfolds with every course. Their position in the hierarchy dictates not only responsibility, but the degree of visibility they are permitted. The closer to the center of action, the greater the burden of expectation and the sharper the scrutiny. The hierarchy is mirrored in every aspect of service, from the timing of trays to the placement of dishes and glassware. Courses advance with the unerring rhythm dictated by the head steward, and the staff moves with a disciplined choreography that reinforces both order and elegance. Even pauses, slight adjustments, and gestures of acknowledgement communicate adherence to the chain of authority. The system operates without words, yet its discipline ensures that each plate, spoon, and glass is delivered with exacting consistency, creating the impression of effortless refinement. Beyond the visible hierarchy lies an understanding of the moral dimension of service. The highest-ranking staff members are entrusted with responsibility not merely for the mechanics of dining, but for upholding the household's reputation. Their vigilance ensures that the guests experience an unbroken illusion of grace and propriety, shielding them from the labor, effort, and subtle negotiation that underpins every gesture. In this way, the hierarchy behind the curtain safeguards both decorum and dignity, preserving the illusion that the hall operates in harmony through instinct rather than design. It is within this structure that the Gilded Age dining experience achieves its quiet majesty. Each movement, from the hands that lift the silver to the feet that glide across polished floors, is guided by invisible authority. Every member of the staff, from the head steward to the newest apprentice, participates in a performance of obedience, precision, and awareness, ensuring that the ritual of service unfolds with seamless grace. The hierarchy behind the curtain is the silent architect of elegance, orchestrating every motion and thought, shaping the experience of the evening, and allowing the hall to speak of refinement, discipline, and mastery without uttering a single word. In the Gilded Age dining hall, perfection is not optional. It is an unspoken law whose breach, however minor, carries consequences that ripple through every aspect of the evening. A single misstep can betray hours of preparation, disrupt the rhythm of service, and invite scrutiny from those whose gaze measures even the most imperceptible deviation. Servants are trained to anticipate, adjust, and execute with such precision that the appearance of ease seems effortless. Yet beneath this polished exterior lies a constant vigilance, a quiet fear of error, and a relentless demand for discipline that governs each motion. The margin for error is vanishingly small. A tilted glass, a crooked napkin, or the faintest smudge upon polished silver is magnified under the watchful eyes of both the host and the guests. Each imperfection suggests inattention, ignorance, or a lack of care, and it disrupts the carefully cultivated illusion of elegance. Servants learn quickly that mistakes cannot merely be corrected after the fact. They must be prevented through preparation, practice, and an acute awareness of every gesture, every movement, and every detail. The hall rewards precision and punishes hesitation, creating a space where flawless performance is expected and error is almost unthinkable. Even the simplest actions carry weight. The act of pouring wine requires control of both angle and speed to prevent spill or splash. Placing a plate on the table demands exact alignment with silver and napery, ensuring symmetry and visual harmony. Lifting a tray must be timed perfectly with the rhythm of arrival and departure, avoiding disruption to conversation and movement. Each action is a test, a measure of comprehension and attentiveness, and a single lapse can be observed and recorded by those trained to read the language of subtle error. Mistakes are not merely noticed, they are interpreted. Guests, though largely unaware of the precise mechanics of service, unconsciously register hesitation, imbalance, or delay, which may affect their perception of the household, the meal, and even their own behavior. Among the staff, errors are corrected with discretion, yet marked for training, creating a continuous cycle of vigilance and refinement. The hierarchy depends upon this unerring attention, for each member relies on the flawless execution of their colleagues to maintain the seamless illusion upon which the evening depends. The fear of error shapes the very rhythm of movement. Hands are poised but never rushed. Steps are measured, and eyes sweep the room to anticipate the next need before it arises. Every gesture is performed as if under scrutiny, for indeed it is, and the hall seems to respond to imperfection with subtle but unmistakable signals. Shadows shift, reflections catch motion, and the alignment of light upon polished surfaces amplifies even the smallest deviation. The learning of these cues is as essential as mastering the handling of silver, the timing of courses, or the adjustment of linens. Ultimately, the Gilded Age dining hall exists as a realm in which mistakes must not exist, and where the perfection of service is both the aim and the test of every participant. The grace of the evening, the harmony of the table, and the satisfaction of the guests are secured through a delicate balance of anticipation, precision, and discipline. Each moment, motion, and gesture is charged with consequence, and the invisible standards that govern the hall are enforced through observation, habit, and an unrelenting pursuit of flawlessness. In this space, error is not forgiven, for the illusion of effortless elegance depends entirely upon the mastery of those whose unseen labor shapes every aspect of the evening. In the Gilded Age dining hall, presence itself carries an almost tangible weight. Each individual, whether guest or servant, occupies a space dictated by expectation, hierarchy, and the subtle pressures of observation. The mere act of standing, leaning, or pausing conveys meaning, and the careful management of posture and attention is as vital as any gesture or task performed during the evening. A guest's entrance fills the room with a silent assertion of social standing, while a servant's movement, though understated, exerts influence over the flow and perception of the meal. Everybody in the hall participates in an unspoken dialogue, in which presence becomes an instrument of control, obedience, and awareness. Guests are acutely aware, whether consciously or not, of the scrutiny that surrounds them. Every glance cast toward the head of the table, every adjustment of a sleeve, and every subtle shift in seating reflects a negotiation with authority and expectation. Proximity conveys influence. Distance implies deference. The arrangement of chairs, the alignment of the table, and the placement of serving vessels dictate the choreography of attention and the manner in which presence is asserted or restrained. The room itself seems to measure each posture, capturing the slightest hesitation or overextension and translating it into social meaning. For servants, the weight of presence is literal as well as symbolic. They move through light and shadow with calculated awareness, adjusting each motion to maintain the illusion of effortless grace. The tilt of a hand, the pace of a step, and the positioning of a tray are all influenced by the proximity of others, by the distribution of observation, and by the anticipation of need. Each individual bears responsibility, not only for their own movements, but for the seamless functioning of the collective, ensuring that the hall operates as a single, harmonious organism. Mistakes are magnified when the weight of one's presence is misjudged, revealing itself in disrupted rhythm, hesitation, or visual imbalance. Even in the quietest corners, presence is felt. Shadows elongate across walls and floors, echoing the motions of the attentive and amplifying the subtle power dynamics at play. A servant pause to adjust a folded napkin exerts influence over the visual symmetry of the table, while a guest who leans too far forward or tilts a hand incorrectly may disrupt the perception of refinement. Every body communicates through placement, posture, and motion, reinforcing hierarchy, etiquette, and the invisible choreography that sustains the evening. The weight of presence is further heightened by the interplay of light and reflection. Candle flames and chandelier prisms capture gestures, extending their reach across the polished surfaces of the table and into the awareness of all who observe. Mirrors multiply figures, emphasizing alignment and symmetry, and shadows record every deviation from perfection. Presence is not passive. It participates actively in the performance, signaling understanding, compliance, or transgression. Those who have mastered their own presence contribute to the invisible orchestration, while those less practiced risk revealing the labor and discipline concealed behind the polished facade. In this environment, presence itself becomes a form of mastery. Guests and servants alike must understand its influence, anticipate its consequences, and calibrate their motions to align with expectation. It is through the careful management of presence that the Gilded Age dining hall maintains its elegance, authority, and illusion. Each posture, gesture, and step is charged with intent, sustaining the rhythm of service and reinforcing the hierarchy that governs the room. The weight of presence ensures that the evening proceeds with silent precision, that the performance of refinement remains unbroken, and that the labor of the unseen is acknowledged, if only subconsciously, in every motion and every glance. In the Gilded Age dining hall, posture is far more than a matter of comfort. It is the silent language through which refinement, attentiveness, and understanding are conveyed. Guests learn quickly that the tilt of a head, the alignment of shoulders, and the gentle rest of hands upon the table communicate as clearly as any spoken word. The hall itself observes and interprets these motions, reflecting the subtle power dynamics that govern social order. A guest who leans forward too eagerly or slouches in inattentive repose risks revealing impatience or ignorance, while a carefully measured posture signifies comprehension, restraint, and respect for the ritual unfolding around them. From the moment one approaches the table, the demand for precise posture is evident. The alignment of the spine, the placement of elbows, and the gentle flex of the wrist are observed not only by the host, but by servants who understand that every motion affects the seamless appearance of service. A straight back and relaxed shoulders convey ease within the structure of expectation, suggesting both familiarity with and deference to the rules of the hall. Even the angle of a chair beneath the guest reinforces the hierarchy, guiding the body into the space designated by rank and by ritual. The connection between posture and perception extends to every gesture throughout the evening. The lift of a napkin to the lap, the motion of a spoon toward the mouth, or the subtle tilt of a glass is framed by the bearing of the body. Servants watch these indicators to anticipate the next move, adjusting their own movements in accordance with the guest's position and readiness. Each participant, knowingly or unknowingly, contributes to a choreography in which the alignment of the body shapes the rhythm of the meal. A single deviation, a careless lean, or a distracted gesture can disrupt this delicate balance, calling attention to the breach of propriety and undermining the carefully maintained illusion of elegance. The art of posture is intertwined with patience and attentiveness. Guests are trained to inhabit stillness without appearing rigid, to respond with gestures that are precise yet unforced, and to allow the subtle rhythm of the hall to guide their actions. Eyes follow the movement of trays and plates, hands adjust imperceptibly, and every motion is subordinated to the overarching order of service. The effect is cumulative. Posture becomes a mirror of etiquette, a measure of awareness, and an instrument through which social hierarchy is both acknowledged and reinforced. Servants, for their part, mirror these expectations. Their stance while carrying trays, their approach to the table, and the angle of their hands must align perfectly with the established rhythm. The reflection of candlelight across silver amplifies even the smallest misalignment, transforming minor errors in posture into visible disruptions of the evening's flow. Training instills an understanding that posture is not merely functional, but expressive, that the body communicates as much as any word or movement, and that mastery of bearing is essential to the performance of both service and observation. Through careful posture, the Gilded Age dining hall sustains its elegance and authority. Each upright spine, each controlled movement, and each measured tilt conveys respect, attentiveness, and understanding. Guests learn to inhabit the space with grace, aligning themselves with invisible codes, while servants coordinate their actions with exacting precision. Posture becomes a language that governs interaction, structures the flow of service, and communicates compliance and refinement without uttering a single word. In this way, the body itself becomes an instrument of etiquette, and the art of politeness is performed silently, visibly, and universally throughout the hall. In the Gilded Age dining hall, conversation is a discipline as exacting as the arrangement of silver or the alignment of chairs. Words are measured, topics selected with care, and tone moderated to convey intelligence, refinement, and attentiveness. Guests learn that speech is not merely a vehicle for thought, but an instrument of social performance, where each phrase, pause, and inflection carries subtle weight. The hall itself, its polished surfaces and shadowed corners, amplifies this ritual, reflecting gestures, catching the flicker of an eyebrow, and recording the manner in which one engages with the unspoken hierarchy of the evening. From the first toast to the final remark, conversation is governed by unspoken rules. The timing of each interjection is critical, for speaking too soon or too late can disrupt both the rhythm of service and the perception of one's discernment. Politeness is enforced not only by the host's guidance, but by the keen observation of all present. A well-placed compliment, a carefully phrased inquiry, or a restrained response signals both intelligence and comprehension of the social order. In contrast, a hastily offered opinion, an overlooked gesture, or a conversational lapse betrays unfamiliarity with the intricate code of engagement that sustains the evening. Guests are expected to balance attentiveness with discretion, to listen carefully, to nod at the appropriate moment, or to smile with subtle appreciation is to participate in the ritual of dialogue. Speech is both art and strategy, revealing knowledge of etiquette while concealing impatience or ignorance. Even laughter is controlled, measured to avoid excess while allowing warmth to enter the room. The careful modulation of tone, pace, and volume ensures that conversation enhances rather than disrupts the harmony of the table. Each remark is a brushstroke upon the canvas of the evening, contributing to a composition whose coherence depends upon discipline, awareness, and subtlety. The servants, while unseen, are equally attuned to this practice. They observe the flow of dialogue, anticipating needs, adjusting trays, and timing courses to align with the pauses and shifts of attention among the guests. The delivery of each dish, the pouring of wine, and the movement of utensils are coordinated with conversational rhythm, ensuring that service neither interrupts nor draws undue attention. In this manner, dialogue is intertwined with motion, and words become part of the broader choreography of the evening, harmonizing speech and gesture, anticipation and action. The art of conversation extends beyond etiquette into the realm of influence. A single question, posed at the right moment, may direct attention, test knowledge, or assert subtle authority. Compliments and observations serve as instruments of diplomacy, reinforcing alliances and hierarchies without overt declaration. The untrained participant may speak freely, yet those schooled in the protocols of the hall understand that every word is both statement and measure, revealing comprehension, respect, and mastery of the ritual that governs presence. In this carefully maintained balance, the Gilded Age dining hall transforms speech into performance. Conversation is no mere exchange of ideas. It is a test of patience, intelligence, and perception, conducted with elegance and precision. Guests learn to inhabit their roles through the careful selection of words, gestures, and timing, while servants facilitate and reinforce the rhythm of dialogue through movement and anticipation. In this theater of refinement, speech becomes a measured art, every phrase a note in the symphony of the evening, ensuring that the ritual of dining unfolds with harmony, decorum, and unbroken elegance from the first course to the last. In the Gilded Age dining hall, the act of toasting carries a significance that surpasses its outward appearance. It is more than a ritual of cheer. It is a statement of attention, allegiance, and understanding, a precise measure of social intelligence and the capacity to navigate invisible hierarchies. A raised glass communicates respect, recognition, and participation in the evening's intricate choreography, while a misaligned gesture, an untimely sip, or a hesitant inclination of the head may betray ignorance, inattention, or disregard. The toast is an instrument through which authority and etiquette converge, transforming a simple motion into a demonstration of grace, awareness, and subtle influence. The preparation for a toast begins long before the glass is lifted. Guests adjust their posture, hands, and gaze in anticipation, aligning themselves with the unspoken rhythm of the hall. Those seated nearest the host are expected to respond with measured precision. Their nods, inclinations, and murmurs of acknowledgement reflecting comprehension of the subtle hierarchy that governs the evening. Each gesture is observed by the host, by peers, and by the servants who move quietly along the periphery, noting alignment, timing, and composure. In this moment, attention is paramount, for a toast is both social test and ceremonial performance. The timing of the toast is orchestrated with exacting care. It is neither too early, which would suggest eagerness or impoliteness, nor too late, which risks disengagement or disrespect. The head steward and attendants anticipate the cue, ensuring that silver, crystal, and plates are aligned, that each guest is poised, and that no interruption will disturb the measured flow of the evening. Even the tilt of a glass, the grip upon the stem, and the subtle shift of weight in a chair are noted, forming a silent dialogue between host, guest, and observer. The elegance of the moment relies on these minute adjustments, the careful preparation of both the body and the space, and the awareness that every detail conveys meaning. Beyond its immediate function, the toast communicates status, knowledge, and allegiance. A well-executed inclination of the head signals understanding and compliance, while a slight hesitation may mark inexperience or defiance. Guests learn that the weight of this simple act is compounded by observation. Every hand, every gesture, and every glance is interpreted as a reflection of character and social skill. The toast thus becomes both performance and instruction, reinforcing the codes that govern the hall while subtly testing the capacity of each participant to adhere to them. The labor behind the toast is invisible yet vital. Servants align glasses and silver with precision, ensuring that the visual harmony mirrors the measured decorum of the gesture. Candles and chandeliers catch the crystal and illuminate hands, drawing attention to the movement while concealing the effort that maintains it. Every detail, from the smallest glint of polished metal to the tilt of a goblet, contributes to the seamless perfection of the moment. The toast is therefore a nexus of observation, preparation, and execution, a convergence of artistry and discipline that sustains the illusion of effortless elegance. Through the careful management of timing, posture, and gesture, the Gilded Age dining hall elevates the toast into an act of ritualized mastery. Guests learn to inhabit the space with awareness, performing each motion with precision, and the servants guide the flow with subtle skill. The toast carries weight because it reveals character, comprehension, and compliance, and it secures its significance through the unseen choreography that orchestrates the evening. In this moment, elegance, authority, and discipline converge, transforming a simple gesture into a testament to the mastery and restraint that define the ritual of Gilded Age formal dining. In the Gilded Age dining hall, consumption is an act observed as closely as the service itself, for to eat is to participate in a performance of refinement and self-discipline. Guests are taught to engage not only with their utensils, but with their surroundings, coordinating every gesture with the rhythm of the hall, the placement of silver, and the timing of the courses. Each motion, from the lift of a fork to the tilt of a wine glass, is scrutinized by the host, by peers, and by the unseen staff, who register compliance, attentiveness, and grace with a precision born of years of practice. Eating is transformed from mere necessity into a deliberate expression of social understanding and controlled elegance. The act of consumption begins with observation. A guest's eyes follow the approach of each dish, noting its composition, placement, and relation to surrounding objects. Silver and crystal serve as both guides and mirrors, reflecting the careful positioning of hands, the sequence of service, and the subtle gestures that accompany the unfolding of each course. Attention is rewarded. Those who move with awareness demonstrate comprehension of hierarchy, appreciation of ritual, and skill at aligning their actions with expectation. The unpracticed or inattentive, in contrast, betray themselves through hesitation, misalignment, or uneven timing, revealing a lack of familiarity with the intricate choreography that sustains the hall's illusion of effortless grace. Hands, guided by both habit and instruction, follow the cues offered by the eyes. A fork is lifted with deliberation, aligned precisely with the dish, and lowered in perfect cadence with the rhythm of service. Glasses are raised only when the sequence dictates, and knives are angled to maintain both appearance and function. Every motion is measured, every gesture considered. The act of eating becomes a dialogue between sight and touch, a conversation conducted without words in which each participant communicates respect, understanding, and attention to the rules of the table. Even the simplest bite is framed by awareness, executed with restraint, and observed by those who have mastered the silent code. The staff, moving through shadowed corners and lighted passages, monitors these gestures, ensuring that dishes are delivered at the precise moment and that the rhythm of service aligns seamlessly with the movements of the guests. A misstep by either side disrupts the harmony, revealing effort or error, and reminding all present of the delicate interdependence that governs the evening. The visual element of dining, the placement of silver, the arrangement of plates, the glint of crystal under candlelight, serves to magnify each action, emphasizing precision while concealing the labor that maintains it. Eating with eyes as well as hands becomes both a discipline and a performance, an integration of observation, coordination, and silent communication. Beyond the mechanics of the table, this practice conveys hierarchy and taste. Guests who eat with measured attention demonstrate comprehension of social cues, respect for the labor of service, and sensitivity to the broader orchestration of the evening. The careful alignment of hands, the subtle coordination of gaze, and the measured pace of consumption transform the act into a reflection of character and refinement. Conversely, negligence in these gestures signals inexperience, impatience, or disregard, exposing the participant to quiet judgment and revealing the consequences of inattentiveness. In this way, the Gilded Age dining hall transforms a simple necessity into an instrument of education, hierarchy, and performance. Eating with eyes as well as hands ensures that the rhythm of service is maintained, that hierarchy is respected, and that every motion contributes to the seamless appearance of grace and control. Each bite, each gesture, and each glance participates in the invisible choreography of refinement, creating an evening in which the mastery of the table is as much a matter of perception as of sustenance, and where elegance is measured in attention, observation, and disciplined motion, rather than in food alone. In the Gilded Age dining hall, every dish carries more than nourishment. It bears subtle messages of status, taste, and propriety. The composition of the meal, the precision of its presentation, and the sequence in which it arrives are all imbued with meaning, silently communicating to those who know how to interpret it. A plate of delicacies is both sustenance and statement, reflecting the wealth and discernment of the host while testing the awareness, manners, and attention of the guests. In this environment, reputation is served as carefully as the courses themselves, visible in every gesture, glance, and measured motion. The arrangement of each dish is deliberate, designed to highlight the skill of the chef and the refinement of the household. Silver platters gleam under the light of chandeliers, reflecting the careful symmetry of place settings and the precise alignment of utensils. Guests observe these details attentively, whether consciously or unconsciously, as each course offers a subtle lesson in expectation, etiquette, and social hierarchy. Even a seemingly minor misalignment of a garnish or a slight imbalance of a dish can convey inattention or lack of sophistication, a quiet signal to those trained to notice the smallest deviations from perfection. As the meal progresses, The sequence and timing of courses reveal both planning and understanding. Appetizers arrive first, followed by the more complex entrees, and finishing with the delicacy of dessert. Each transition choreographed to sustain attention, engagement, and anticipation. Guests are observed in how they respond to these shifts, how their hands and eyes align with the rhythm of service, and whether their manners convey appreciation and restraint. Those who fail to meet these expectations may betray inexperience or ignorance, allowing reputation to be questioned silently among peers. Conversely, careful attention, subtle acknowledgement, and measured participation reinforce social standing and demonstrate comprehension of the rituals that govern the hall. The act of eating, measured in conjunction with conversation and gesture, transforms the table into a stage upon which character is displayed. The tilt of the head, the careful lift of a fork, the precise alignment of a glass, and the attentiveness to surrounding motions all communicate poise, discipline, and awareness. Each participant's behavior is noted, cataloged by the observing eyes of both host and peers, and interpreted as evidence of refinement or lack thereof. Even the most casual observer learns, without instruction, that the performance of dining is inseparable from the presentation of self. Servants, trained to anticipate the flow of service, align their motions with these measures of reputation. They ensure that dishes arrive at the proper moment, that trays glide without hesitation, and that each element of the meal sustains the illusion of effortless elegance. Their labor is invisible yet essential, shaping the experience of the table and framing the conduct of the guests. The polished surfaces, flickering candlelight, and reflective crystal serve to magnify every motion, reinforcing the silent dialogue between presence, performance, and perception. In this interplay of taste, motion, and observation, the dining hall becomes a theater of reputation. Each guest's awareness, discipline, and comprehension are tested not through explicit instruction, but through the presentation of the meal itself. The table teaches decorum, the courses reinforce hierarchy, and the alignment of hands, eyes, and gesture conveys understanding. Reputation is thus served on a platter, a tangible reflection of social skill, refinement, and attentiveness. In the Gilded Age, it is through these silent measures that authority, respect, and elegance are maintained, leaving an indelible impression upon all who participate in the ritual of formal dining. Beyond the polished expanse of the Gilded Age dining table, the room conceals layers of hidden infrastructure that support the seamless performance of the evening. Sideboards, often grand in scale and adorned with intricate carving, serve as repositories of silver, porcelain, and crystal, each item positioned with exacting care to facilitate efficiency while maintaining the appearance of effortless elegance. These furnishings are not merely decorative, they are instruments of orchestration, guiding the flow of service and providing the staff with immediate access to the tools necessary to execute their silent choreography. Their surfaces gleam with meticulous polish, reflecting the light of chandeliers and candles to draw attention to the symmetry and preparation that underpin the ritual. Yet the labor required to maintain this perfection remains invisible to the guests. The sideboards conceal more than utensils and serving vessels. Beneath the surface of visible elegance, drawers, compartments, and hidden niches allow the discreet staging of dishes, the rapid replenishment of silver, and the concealment of items that might disrupt the order of the table if prematurely revealed. Servants learn to navigate these secret spaces with precision, understanding which drawers to access, when to extend a hand, and how to maintain poise while performing tasks that are essential yet unseen. These passages of motion, though hidden from view, are as vital to the rhythm of the meal as the arrangement of chairs or the alignment of napery. Every movement within these spaces contributes to the invisible lattice of control that sustains the illusion of grace and refinement. The design of the hall itself reinforces these hidden pathways. Sideboards are positioned strategically along walls, their height and reach calibrated to allow easy access without intruding upon the view of the guests. Small doors, hidden recesses, and discreet openings provide channels through which trays may be passed, glasses replaced, and dishes staged with minimal disturbance. These secret passages, often unknown to the guests, shape the rhythm of service and ensure that the labor behind each course is effectively concealed. The mastery of these routes requires careful study and repetition, for a single misstep could disrupt the visual harmony, draw unwanted attention, or expose the complexity of the work that sustains the evening. Beyond their practical function, sideboards and hidden passages communicate authority and order. Their presence signals the preparedness and organization of the household, reinforcing the sense that every element of the meal has been considered and rehearsed. Guests, whether consciously or unconsciously, recognize the symmetry and precision of arrangement as a reflection of discipline, taste, and social control. The reflective surfaces amplify movement, ensuring that hands glide efficiently while concealing the exertion that maintains the rhythm of the evening. In this way, the architecture itself participates in the choreography, directing attention, guiding motion, and sustaining the illusion of effortless refinement. The interplay between visibility and concealment is central to the Gilded Age dining experience. While the guests focus on the polished table, the gleaming silver, and the visual harmony of each course, the sideboards and secret passages operate quietly, orchestrating every element of service. They ensure that dishes appear at the correct moment, that utensils are aligned, and that the gestures of both guests and staff are synchronized. In this hidden infrastructure, preparation, labor, and discipline converge, revealing the meticulous planning that allows elegance to be performed without disruption. The sideboards and secret passages are the unseen architects of perfection, sustaining the invisible choreography that defines the Gilded Age dining hall, and ensuring that every course, gesture, and glance contributes to the seamless impression of grace, authority, and refined mastery. In the Gilded Age dining hall, every object contributes to the unspoken language of refinement, yet none speak more subtly than the chairs and the carpets upon which they rest. Each chair is chosen not merely for comfort, but for its capacity to enforce posture, convey rank, and guide the behavior of those who occupy it. The design, height, and placement of each seat are calibrated with precision, ensuring that the body aligns with expectation, and that gestures, glances, and even the shift of weight are communicated in harmony with the rhythm of the room. Guests learn, often without conscious thought, that to sit is to perform, and that every posture signals comprehension of the invisible rules that govern conduct. Carpets stretching beneath the polished floors serve a purpose as subtle as it is pervasive. Their patterns mark boundaries, channel movement, and provide a gentle tactile reminder of space. A footfall upon a thick weave produces a muffled sound that directs attention and signals approach, while a lighter step along a bare floorboard carries a different significance. The interplay between the yielding carpet and the solid floor beneath guides servants, directing their glides and pauses, ensuring that the flow of movement remains unobtrusive yet precise. Guests, unaware of these nuances, respond instinctively to the rhythm imposed by these surfaces, aligning posture, gesture, and pace to the invisible cues embedded in the hall itself. The silent code extends beyond mere placement of furniture or material. Chairs are aligned in exact relation to the table and to each other, forming a geometric pattern that reinforces hierarchy. The seat at the head of the table commands prominence, receiving both the light of the chandeliers and the gaze of every observer. Flanking positions indicate proximity to favor, alliance, or relative importance. The careful spacing between chairs ensures that gestures are neither obstructed nor intrusive, that service can be delivered with precision, and that the symmetry of movement, posture, and eye contact is preserved. In this way, Seating becomes an instrument of discipline, shaping behavior through spatial arrangement as much as through observation. Servants internalize this code as part of their training. They understand the precise alignment required to pass a tray without drawing attention, the angle at which a chair must be adjusted for comfort and propriety, and the exact distance necessary to maintain both visibility and discretion. The patterns of the carpet further guide movement, marking the paths along which attendants may glide, pause, or pivot without disturbing the visual harmony of the table. The hall itself becomes a conductor, coordinating the rhythm of motion, the placement of bodies, and the cadence of service in a complex yet seamless symphony. Guests, attentive or otherwise, cannot avoid the influence of this silent code. The weight of each chair, the softness or resilience of the carpet beneath, and the symmetry of placement subtly enforce posture, manners, and attention. Even the adjustment of a cushion, the slight tilt of a seat back, or the gentle scrape of a chair along polished wood communicates expectation. The room instructs without words, shaping behavior and guiding motion, ensuring that each participant aligns with the established hierarchy and rhythm. In the Gilded Age, refinement is maintained not only through etiquette and conversation, but through the orchestration of objects and the subtle enforcement of a silent code. Chairs and carpets, seemingly inert, participate actively in the choreography of the dining hall. They guide, instruct, and reinforce the expectations of posture, movement, and attentiveness. Through these objects, the invisible order of the hall is preserved, shaping both the performance of the evening and the perception of those who partake, ensuring that grace, authority, and discipline are evident in every gesture, step, and glance. In the Gilded Age dining hall, light is not merely illumination. It is an instrument of instruction, a silent narrator that shapes perception, guides attention, and commands obedience. Chandeliers hang like suspended constellations, each crystal prism refracting the glow of candlelight into a tapestry of brilliance and shadow. Guests and servants alike move through a carefully orchestrated interplay of illumination, where brilliance draws focus and darkness conceals labor. The hall itself uses this contrast to tell its story, revealing what must be admired while hiding what must remain unseen, turning every flicker and reflection into a subtle language of authority and refinement. The positioning of light is deliberate, with candles and lamps placed to accentuate surfaces, highlight gestures, and frame faces. Those seated at points of prominence bask in illumination, their presence amplified by the reflection of glass and polished silver. Shadows fall elsewhere, softening movements that might otherwise reveal the immense labor of service or the intricate choreography that sustains the evening. The interplay of light and dark is a narrative unto itself, instructing observers on where to direct their attention and how to comport themselves within the hierarchy. Every gesture, every tilt of the head, every lift of a glass is interpreted through this lens, guiding action as much as it conceals effort. Servants are trained to move with intimate awareness of light and shadow. Their steps are measured, their hands poised to catch reflections without breaking them, and their motions timed to align with the illumination that frames the scene. A tray is presented as a visual extension of the glow. Plates appear in the proper moment, and silver catches light in a way that communicates precision and readiness. Shadows soften the edges of motion, concealing correction, adjustment, and preparation, allowing the performance of service to appear effortless. Every movement is dictated by this invisible grammar, transforming the hall into both stage and teacher, using radiance and concealment to instruct both the observer and the participant. The guests themselves respond to this narrative with instinctive subtlety. Eyes follow the glint of silver, the shimmer of glass, and the tilt of a candle flame. Gestures are moderated according to the patterns of illumination, postures adjusted to remain visible in the brilliance or discreet within shadow. The hall teaches vigilance, patience, and awareness, guiding participants toward comportment that satisfies the unspoken rules of etiquette. Even a glance misaligned with the flow of light can betray inattentiveness or ignorance, while a measured reaction harmonizes with the rhythm dictated by illumination and obscurity. Beyond the visual, light and shadow shape the perception of time and pace. Candles flicker in cadence with the movement of trays, with the passage of courses, and with the rhythm of conversation. The gradual dimming of flames signals the approach of the final course, while reflected brilliance marks the prominence of hosts and honored guests. The hall orchestrates these cues with care, ensuring that every participant moves, reacts, and observes in harmony with the intended narrative. In this way, illumination becomes a conductor, guiding the symphony of gesture, posture, and attention that defines the Gilded Age dining experience. Through the careful manipulation of lighting and shadow, the hall communicates authority, expectation, and refinement without a single word. Every flicker, every reflection, and every pool of darkness shapes the perception of guests, directs the hands and feet of servants, and maintains the seamless performance upon which elegance depends. In this environment, the interplay of light and dark becomes both teacher and storyteller, narrating the rituals, hierarchy, and discipline that sustain the evening. It is through this subtle, continuous narrative that the Gilded Age dining hall achieves its quiet majesty, revealing not only the spectacle of the meal, but the mastery of those who craft its perfection in ways both visible and invisible. In the Gilded Age dining hall, music is neither mere decoration nor idle entertainment. It is an unseen conductor, shaping rhythm, focus, and movement throughout the evening. The gentle swell of strings, the delicate trills of a piano, or the soft resonance of a harp is synchronized with the arrival of courses, the lift of utensils, and the gestures of guests and servants alike. The hall breathes in time with these notes, and every participant adjusts posture, gaze, and motion in response to this invisible score. Music becomes a medium of instruction, an instrument of decorum, and a subtle reminder that every action is measured, every gesture meaningful, and every presence observed. The musicians themselves, though often positioned to the side or behind an archway, perform with an understanding of their role within the broader choreography of the evening. Their tempo is deliberate, matching the rhythm of service and guiding the pace of conversation, gestures, and the placement of dishes. A sustained note may signal a moment of stillness, instructing guests to pause in observation or reflection. A sudden flourish may accompany the arrival of a course, alerting servants to readiness and encouraging measured attention among those seated. The music is both atmospheric and functional, its influence extending into every corner of the room, coordinating movement and enforcing harmony without overt declaration. Guests respond instinctively to this orchestration. Conversations rise and fall in cadence with the accompaniment. Heads tilt in rhythm, and hands are guided to gestures that align with the flow of melody. Silence is as intentional as speech, with pauses in conversation punctuated by a note or a gentle chord, subtly reminding all present of the shared understanding required to maintain the elegance of the evening. Even laughter and murmur are moderated to blend with the auditory landscape, producing a controlled ambiance that enhances perception and reinforces hierarchy. Each participant is both observer and performer, their actions shaped by the music that conducts the room. Servants, moving through the hall with the practiced precision of countless rehearsals, also synchronize their motions with the musical cues. Trays are lifted and lowered in concert with phrasing. Glasses are poured with attention to tempo, and the placement of utensils follows a rhythm dictated by melody as well as ritual. Their steps are softened against carpets and polished floors, timed to harmonize with the flow of sound, ensuring that no extraneous noise disrupts the illusion of effortless grace. The hall itself becomes a living instrument, its surfaces reflecting both light and sound, reinforcing the coordination of bodies, gestures, and attention. Beyond timing and movement, the music shapes perception and emphasizes hierarchy. Guests of prominence are framed by crescendos, their gestures illuminated by light that dances in tandem with sound, drawing focus and reinforcing authority. Subtle harmonies guide those of lesser rank to deferential gestures, alerting them to the expectations of posture, expression, and attention. Music becomes a language without words, communicating status, timing, and decorum to all present, ensuring that every motion aligns with the invisible choreography that governs the hall. Through the interplay of melody and movement, the dining hall achieves a delicate equilibrium. The music directs attention, instructs behavior, and maintains the rhythm of service, while enhancing the perception of elegance and control. Guests are guided by both sound and observation, and the labor of unseen hands is rendered invisible within the harmonious flow. In the Gilded Age, music is not merely an adornment. It is a silent arbiter, a conductor of gesture, gaze, and posture, orchestrating the ritual of dining so that every motion, glance, and pause contributes to the perfection of the evening. In the Gilded Age dining hall, doors are more than portals of entry and exit. They are instruments of ceremony, guardians of hierarchy, and arbiters of perception. Each opening and closing is laden with significance, dictating timing, focus, and the trajectory of both motion and attention. Guests entering the hall are immediately measured by the weight of expectation, and servants moving through these portals carry the responsibility of sustaining the illusion of seamless service. The doors themselves frame presence and movement, transforming passage into an exercise in discipline, awareness, and social comprehension. The act of crossing a threshold is deliberate. A guest approaching the hall is guided not only by the path of polished floors and arranged carpets, but by the subtle cues of light, reflection, and expectation. The door frames the entry, controlling what is revealed and what remains concealed. Its dimensions and placement ensure that each arrival commands attention, without disturbing the order already in place. Those who enter at the head of the line assert prominence, while those following adjust posture, pace, and gaze to harmonize with the hierarchy silently enforced by architecture and observation. Even a momentary pause at the threshold conveys meaning, signaling respect, hesitation, or awareness of the ritual awaiting inside. Servants are equally attentive to the language of doors. Their motions are timed precisely, anticipating the opening and closing so that trays, glasses, and dishes move without interruption or exposure. A door left ajar too long or opened with misjudged force could break the illusion, drawing attention to the mechanics of service and disrupting the rhythm of the evening. Training instills an understanding of these nuances, teaching staff to move with calculated deliberation, aligning every step, tilt of the wrist, and turn of the shoulder with the passage of portals. In this way, doors become active participants in the choreography of dining, dictating pace, controlling visibility, and ensuring that labor remains invisible while elegance endures. The visual and auditory influence of doors extends to guests as well. The creak of a hinge, the click of polished wood, or the subtle reflection of candlelight off a surface informs posture, gesture, and attention. Observant guests adjust their movements in response, aligning themselves with the rhythm of service and the positioning of others. A delayed nod, a shift of the head, or the measured placement of hands acknowledges both the authority of the host and the coordination of the unseen staff. In this environment, even the subtlest passage through a door becomes a signal, a lesson, and a performance, shaping the perception of all who witness or participate. Beyond their immediate function, doors symbolize the control and boundaries that define the dining hall. They separate preparation from presentation, labor from display, and order from disorder. Behind each portal, servants prepare, adjust, and coordinate, unseen yet integral to the seamless rhythm that governs every course. Their passage through these thresholds is guided by knowledge of timing, light, and observation, ensuring that no motion is wasted, no presence misplaced, and no detail left unattended. The doors orchestrate the flow of both people and service, rendering the hall a controlled environment in which elegance, hierarchy, and refinement are sustained without disruption. In this space, doors decide more than entry and exit. They determine perception, timing, and alignment. They instruct without speech, frame action without intrusion, and enforce obedience without visible authority. The careful management of each portal ensures that the rhythm of the evening remains uninterrupted, that guests perform with awareness, and that the labor behind every course is concealed beneath an unbroken veneer of grace. In the Gilded Age dining hall, doors are both threshold and sentinel, shaping the choreography of service and sustaining the silent, exacting discipline that defines refinement, hierarchy, and mastery of ritual. In the Gilded Age dining hall, the preparation of a meal is as much an exercise in concealment as it is in nourishment. The kitchens, though rarely visible to guests, are the silent heart of the evening, where labor, precision, and discipline converge to sustain the illusion of effortless elegance. Each dish is conceived, prepared, and arranged with meticulous care, yet the artistry behind it is never revealed. The hall is built to showcase refinement, not toil, and the act of preparation must remain hidden, a carefully orchestrated pretense that ensures the performance of dining appears natural, graceful, and uninterrupted. Chefs and kitchen staff operate within a strict hierarchy, each aware of their role in the choreography that extends beyond the walls of the kitchen. Ingredients are selected for freshness and provenance, their arrangement calculated to support both visual and gustatory harmony. Sauces are reduced to exact viscosity, meats roasted to precise doneness, and delicate garnishes placed with the accuracy of a jeweler setting stones. Every motion, though repeated countless times, is executed with heightened attention, for the slightest error may propagate forward, revealing itself in misaligned plates, uneven portions, or unbalanced presentation. The kitchen itself functions as a hidden stage, a place where the illusion of effortlessness is cultivated through discipline, repetition, and unyielding attention to detail. Timing is as essential in preparation as it is in service. Each course must reach the table at the precise moment, neither early nor delayed. Maintaining the cadence established by the hall, trays are staged, dishes held at the correct temperature, and servers rehearsed in their approach to ensure that every action aligns with the flow of the meal. Behind closed doors, the staff anticipates the rhythm of arrival, the lighting of candles, and the reactions of guests. Every gesture, from the lift of a tray to the polishing of silver, is synchronized to create the seamless performance observed above, masking the immense labor that precedes it. The pretense extends to the tools and furnishings as well. Sideboards, hidden compartments, and discreet passageways allow plates to be assembled, garnishes adjusted, and utensils aligned without revealing the intricate labor behind them. The reflective surfaces of polished silver and crystal serve both as instruments and as camouflage, amplifying beauty while concealing exertion. Light is choreographed to highlight the visual splendor of the dish and the hands that deliver it, while shadowing the preparation and manipulation required to achieve perfection. In this way, pretense becomes part of the artistry, allowing labor to exist invisibly while presentation asserts authority, refinement, and control. Guests, immersed in conversation, posture, and the rhythm of service, seldom perceive the calculated orchestration behind each course. They admire the alignment of plates, the gleam of utensils, and the visual harmony of the table, unaware that every element is the product of deliberate concealment. The hall, through its architecture, lighting, and choreography of service, ensures that effort remains invisible while the illusion of ease dominates perception. Preparation is transformed into pretense, a silent performance whose mastery sustains the elegance of the evening. Through this hidden labor, the Gilded Age dining hall achieves its hallmark grace. Each plate is not merely a vessel of sustenance, but a testament to discipline, coordination, and invisible skill. Every course reflects the mastery of preparation disguised as spontaneity, ensuring that guests experience beauty, rhythm, and refinement without awareness of the immense orchestration that produces it. In this way, pretense is elevated into art, labor into performance, and the unseen work of the kitchen becomes the foundation upon which the elegance of the hall is built. In the Gilded Age dining hall, the presentation of each dish is a study in meticulous design, where the arrangement of food becomes a silent declaration of skill, taste, and control. Plating is not an act of mere convenience. It is a ritual that transforms ingredients into a visual symphony, commanding attention and guiding perception. The composition of each plate communicates refinement, mastery, and the invisible labor that sustains the elegance of the evening. A dish is not simply placed before a guest. It is delivered with an awareness of proportion, balance, and alignment, each element positioned to reflect both culinary artistry and the expectations of the household. The process begins long before the plate reaches the table. Chefs and assistants select components for color, texture, and shape, considering how each element will interact visually and in taste. Garnishes are chosen not only for flavor, but for their ability to frame the central elements, drawing the eye along intentional lines and highlighting contrasts of hue and form. The plate itself is chosen with care, its size, shape, and design harmonizing with the contents it will bear. Every placement is deliberate, measured to create a tableau that satisfies both aesthetic and functional demands, ensuring that the dish is as visually commanding as it is palatable. Precision in plating extends to the smallest detail. A delicate drizzle of sauce must fall in a controlled arc, a sprig of herb positioned to accentuate symmetry, and a morsel arranged to balance its neighbors. The hands that accomplish this movement are trained to avoid tremor or hesitation, for even the slightest misalignment can betray inexperience. The reflective surfaces of silver, the polished wood of sideboards, and the glint of crystal serve to amplify each motion, revealing skill and concealing effort simultaneously. Every gesture is executed with an awareness of timing, light, and the gaze of both host and guest, transforming each plate into a miniature stage upon which mastery is silently displayed. The rhythm of service is intertwined with plating. Courses must be arranged and prepared to align with the cadence of the hall, ensuring that plates arrive in concert with conversation, gesture, and expectation. A dish presented too early or too late disrupts the flow, diminishing the impression of perfection. Servers, moving with practiced precision, carry the carefully composed plates to the table, adjusting angle and orientation to maintain harmony with the surrounding place settings. The choreography is exacting, with every step, tilt, and adjustment contributing to a seamless performance that conceals the labor of creation while highlighting the beauty of presentation. Beyond visual appeal, plating reinforces hierarchy and decorum. Guests of prominence receive attention in the placement, portioning, and arrangement of their dishes, signaling regard and authority. The composition of a plate communicates not only taste, but social understanding, as every element reflects both culinary and ritual mastery. Those who observe, knowingly or unconsciously, internalize these cues, learning the language of refinement and the subtle messages embedded in the artistry of each course. Through this discipline, the act of plating elevates the meal from sustenance to spectacle. Each dish is a testament to preparation, coordination, and subtle performance, an expression of control that sustains the illusion of effortlessness. In the Gilded Age dining hall, precision in plating ensures that elegance is maintained, hierarchy is communicated, and labor remains unseen. The artistry of arrangement becomes a silent narrative, revealing skill, restraint, and mastery to all who witness it, yet concealing the countless gestures, adjustments, and rehearsals that give it life. Each plate is thus both a feast for the senses and a declaration of the invisible order that governs the ritual of formal dining. In the Gilded Age dining hall, the arrival of dessert is far more than the conclusion of a meal. It is a calculated exercise in diplomacy, a measured assertion of taste, refinement, and awareness. The presentation of sweet delicacies conveys subtle signals to guests, reinforcing hierarchy, expressing attention to propriety, and demonstrating the household's mastery of both flavor and ritual. Each course of dessert, carefully timed and arranged, engages the senses while instructing the participants in the art of observation, restraint, and social alignment. In this final stage of the meal, indulgence is permitted only within the boundaries established by expectation and decorum. The composition of desserts is deliberate, reflecting both aesthetic principles and symbolic nuance. Confections are arranged to balance color, texture, and proportion, with garnishes and delicate accents guiding the eye along intentional lines. Plates of custard, tartlets, and delicate pastries are positioned to complement the reflective surfaces of silver and crystal, creating a tableau that is at once pleasing and instructive. Even the smallest details, such as the angle of a spoon or the precise alignment of a chocolate curl, communicate care, mastery, and an understanding of hierarchy. Each presentation is a silent statement, illustrating the skill of the chef while subtly reinforcing the social order. Timing remains critical in the delivery of dessert. The course arrives only after the preceding dishes have been fully appreciated, and the hall has reached a cadence of completion. The server's approach is synchronized with the light, gesture, and attentiveness of the guests, ensuring that the final course integrates seamlessly into the rhythm of the evening. Each movement is measured and deliberate, from the tilt of a tray to the placement of the plate before the guest. Any deviation would disrupt the harmony, revealing labor or uncertainty and diminishing the impression of effortless elegance that sustains the hall's authority. Dessert functions also as a measure of social skill and diplomacy. Guests of prominence receive attention through careful portioning, nuanced presentation, and subtle cues regarding timing and precedence. Their engagement with the course, when to taste, how to respond, and how to acknowledge the effort of preparation, signals comprehension of the ritual and alignment with the expectations of the host. For those of lesser rank, observation of these interactions teaches subtlety, restraint, and awareness, allowing them to navigate the social currents of the hall without direct instruction. Each bite, each gesture, and each expression becomes a reflection of character, discernment, and etiquette. The labor behind dessert remains largely invisible, yet it is integral to the success of the evening. Chefs and assistants coordinate preparation in quiet, shadowed spaces, ensuring that each element reaches the table at peak quality and aesthetic effect. Servers adjust trays and utensils in anticipation of gestures and glances, while reflective surfaces amplify the visual impact of each arrangement. Light, shadow, and placement collaborate to conceal the complexity of work, maintaining the illusion that elegance is spontaneous rather than meticulously orchestrated. In this final course, diplomacy is enacted through taste, presentation, and attentiveness. Dessert transforms indulgence into instruction, pleasure into measured performance. It reinforces hierarchy, communicates refinement, and sustains the rhythm of service until the meal concludes. In the Gilded Age dining hall, Sweetness is intertwined with strategy, and every morsel becomes a lesson in perception, discretion, and mastery. Through the careful orchestration of dessert, the household achieves a harmonious close to the evening, ensuring that grace, authority, and refinement endure long after the last bite has been taken and the final sip of wine consumed. In the Gilded Age dining hall, the removal of dishes is a ritual as delicate and precise as the placement that preceded it. Clearing is not a mechanical task. It is a silent, coordinated performance that preserves the illusion of effortless elegance. Every plate, glass, and utensil must be removed with discretion, timing, and a thorough understanding of the rhythm of the meal. The work of the servants is guided by anticipation, subtle signals, and the careful observation of guests, ensuring that the transition between courses, or from the final course to repose, is seamless and without disruption. In this final act of service, invisibility is as essential as skill, for the success of the hall depends upon the perception that nothing is ever hurried, misplaced, or intrusive. Servants move with practiced subtlety, their motions measured and precise. Trays are lifted with careful alignment, silver is carried at the correct angle, and dishes are removed in the order most harmonious to the flow of the table. A single misplacement, an untimely scrape against polished wood, or an abrupt gesture would betray the labor beneath the surface and draw unwanted attention to the invisible choreography that governs the evening. Hands, eyes, and posture work in concert, coordinated to maintain harmony, while ensuring that each action is as unobtrusive as possible. The hall is filled with motion, yet it appears tranquil, each step choreographed to preserve elegance while executing essential tasks with silent authority. The timing of clearing is as critical as the placement of dishes. Each course is removed only when the guests have completed their consumption, when conversation and attention are suitably aligned, and when the next stage of service is prepared. The rhythm of the evening is carefully monitored, with every tray and utensil aligned to cues both visual and instinctive. The servants anticipate not only the needs of the table, but also the subtle flow of observation, ensuring that each motion complements the visual and social harmony of the hall. In this way, clearing becomes a continuation of the choreography, a silent measure of mastery that sustains the perception of refinement. Light and shadow play a pivotal role in this act. Candlelight glimmers upon polished silver and crystal, guiding the hands of the staff and masking the adjustments required to maintain symmetry and order. Shadows conceal the subtle manipulation of plates and utensils, softening motion while amplifying the appearance of grace. Even the reflective surfaces of sideboards and polished wood are used to direct attention, ensuring that observers perceive the performance as natural, effortless, and uninterrupted. The hall itself participates in the act, amplifying skill while hiding exertion, preserving the unbroken illusion that defines Gilded Age dining. Guests, absorbed in conversation, posture, and engagement with one another, remain largely unaware of the invisible work that surrounds them. Yet their presence shapes the performance, guiding motion, timing, and placement. Every glance, shift, or gesture is acknowledged subtly, and servants adjust in response, maintaining equilibrium and sustaining the hierarchy established at the outset of the evening. The removal of dishes thus becomes a testament to discipline, coordination, and discretion, ensuring that both labor and hierarchy remain concealed beneath a veneer of elegance. In clearing without disturbance, the Gilded Age dining hall achieves one of its most exacting demonstrations of mastery. The labor is invisible, the timing impeccable, and the impression of effortlessness unbroken. Each plate, each glass, and each utensil is returned to its proper place with precision, preserving symmetry, hierarchy, and aesthetic harmony. This final act of service reinforces the authority of the hall, the refinement of its occupants, and the artistry of those who perform unseen, ensuring that the elegance of the evening endures, uninterrupted and complete, long after the last dish has been removed from the table. When the final guest rises from the Gilded Age dining table, the hall exhales a quiet sigh, as though acknowledging the conclusion of a performance that has unfolded with precision and grace. The polished silver, the gleaming crystal, and the carefully arranged plates remain in their places for a moment, catching the light of candles and reflecting the last movements of attention, posture, and gesture. The room itself becomes a witness to both the effort that has gone unseen and the mastery that has sustained the illusion of ease. In these closing moments, the interplay of observation, motion, and discipline reveals the full weight of the evening, for the absence of the guest illuminates the labor that has upheld every gesture, every glance, and every nuance of service. Servants move with renewed diligence in the aftermath of the meal. Trays are returned to sideboards, linens are folded with careful exactitude, and silver is polished once again, ensuring that the hall returns to a state of readiness while maintaining the illusion that elegance has always been effortless. The choreography continues even as the audience departs, for the rhythm of the room depends upon the invisible order sustained by these hands. Each gesture is deliberate, each step measured, preserving both symmetry and hierarchy, even in the absence of those who have participated. The labor behind the evening remains unseen, yet it is essential, and it shapes the perception of every subsequent observer who may enter the hall. The reflection of light upon polished surfaces tells a story of mastery and restraint. Chandeliers, still ablaze with their flickering flames, catch the glimmer of crystal and silver, magnifying the elegance of arrangement and capturing the echo of gestures long completed. Shadows retreat to corners, carrying with them the memory of motion, the subtle adjustments that have maintained decorum, and the invisible coordination of hands and eyes that has allowed the evening to unfold without error. The hall, through its design, its lighting, and its furnishings, preserves the invisible choreography, maintaining the integrity of ritual and the continuity of refinement beyond the immediate presence of the guests. Even in stillness, the hierarchy of the room asserts itself. The positions of chairs, the alignment of table settings, and the placement of objects retain the imprint of attention and authority. Guests, though departed, leave traces of posture and gesture that guide subsequent observation, reinforcing the standards established during the meal. The house itself appears to watch, recording both compliance and subtle deviations, ensuring that each subsequent evening may draw upon the accumulated mastery of those who have served before. In this way, the ritual continues, not only as performance, but as instruction, an enduring testament to discipline, awareness, and refinement. The conclusion of the evening is a moment of reflection for both guests and staff. The former carry away impressions of elegance, hierarchy, and control, often unaware of the precision and vigilance that shape their experience. The latter absorb lessons in discipline, timing, and coordination, the culmination of effort rendered invisible by design. Together, they sustain a system in which the appearance of perfection is inseparable from the labor of mastery, and in which every gesture, glance, and motion contributes to a broader narrative of propriety and grace. After the last guest has departed, the hall remains a repository of memory and discipline. Its surfaces gleam with reflected light, its shadows hold the echoes of motion, and its furnishings maintain the order established through careful choreography. The Gilded Age dining hall is at once stage, teacher, and archive, a space where elegance is performed, observed, and preserved. In its silence, one may perceive the magnitude of the effort concealed beneath the veneer of grace, understanding that the ritual of service, hierarchy, and refinement continues even in absence, leaving an enduring impression of mastery, discipline, and beauty that extends beyond the final gesture and into the memory of all who have participated.